Hi, I'm Emily Marison, and in this video, we will talk about food product development. Almost every type of food product can benefit by going through a product development process. Baked goods, canned goods, dry mixes. The exception to this would be those of you that are interested in selling cuts of meat or poultry or eggs. However, a food product is more than food, so you may think about some packaging ideas in this section for all types of food. In its simplest form, these are the steps to developing a new food product for sale: ideation, recipe development, testing, scale-up, and launch. Food product development focuses on safety and quality of the product. When it comes to the consumer, their assumption is that the food will be safe, because it's supposed to be. But food quality, on the other hand, is more subjective, and it must be experienced through the senses. You may be wondering, why bother with a process? The hope is that having at least a somewhat systematic approach, even if very simple, will allow you the chance to consider the factors that could affect your product quality. The fun begins with the idea. Probably many of you are coming to this course with an existing recipe. It could be something passed down through your family or a creation you have perfected over the years. But it is possible to approach this whole process without a recipe. Another thought is to look around your community for an unmet need that you think you could fill. Remember, with this ideation phase, we are dreaming. After this module, you will complete the modules that relate to food law and food safety topics. My attorney and my food safety colleagues would already be considering whether any idea is legal or safe. To start with, I say dream. Just know that once you finish dreaming, your dream may be squashed by the legal side, saying that, for instance, you aren't allowed to make that kind of product in your home, or from the food safety side, saying sure, you can make that food and eat it right away, but it's not safe to put in a package for any length of time for people to eat later. So, some ideas might not be allowable to make in your home kitchen, as you will discover later. But I say, where there's a will, there's a way. And there could be a different location that will work for you to make your food. You may also eventually find out it is simply not economically feasible to make the product you're dreaming of. But until then, it's okay to dream. The way to set your product apart could be with unique packaging or with an unfamiliar ingredient. There are plenty of ways to get inspired at grocery stores or by visiting farmers markets. You could look through cookbooks, and the best way is to be on the lookout for opportunities to fill a need. When we think about developing a food product, recipe development is the heart of the process. If you already have a recipe, then you'll probably focus more on the scale-up steps. But there is still much to consider during this step. If you're working to meet a need, then this step is crucial. Even if the concept is good, if your food doesn't taste good, then consumers will not repeat buy, and they will tell their friends. Here are some considerations. Take very good notes on what worked and what didn't work. Record the brands of ingredients, the exact amounts that you use, as close as you can. One way to help with this is to invest in kitchen scales that weigh in grams. For example, all eggs are not exactly the same size. Also, if you have any inkling of scaling up to a larger batch, weight is much better than volume, like cups and tablespoons. Be sure to keep track of temperatures, times, and equipment used. Try things differently to see what happens, like the brands of ingredients or the order of mixing ingredients. That way, if you're ever in a situation in the future when you can't find your favorite brand of ingredient, or you add an ingredient at the wrong time in the process, you will have a good estimate of the outcome of your final product. Because we are talking about foods that we are not eating right away, we need to consider what changes in quality may happen to our product over time. Here are some things you can examine. Taste and texture. How long will your product really last before quality diminishes? How does it taste on day whatever compared to the first day? This can help you know how much time you have to make products. For instance, if you are selling at a farmer's market, how many days ahead of time can you start making food? Color. Will color change over time? Does the color look appetizing? Remember, we eat with our eyes. Consistency. Is your product the same each time you make it? There are certainly relaxed expectations for things that are homemade, but at the same time, be reliable with quality. When it comes to taste tests, these are usually most helpful when you have a couple of prototypes to compare. Maybe you know they taste different, but you want to know what is preferred. For example, would consumers prefer a raisin oatmeal cookie or an applesauce oatmeal cookie? Or strawberry jam versus raspberry strawberry jam? Or maybe you hope they taste similar and want to know if people notice a difference. An example would be using more expensive ingredients versus less expensive ingredients. And sometimes it's not the food itself. You could store your food in different packaging and then have people taste it to see if they notice a difference. As you think about making larger quantities of your food product, it's important to make a plan for your time and space requirements. How much time will be required to make larger batches? Where will you store your finished products? And how often will you need to make your products? The launch is the part of the process that involves more of the business and marketing than the food. But in the midst of all the business and marketing, don't forget about the food. Continually gather feedback on your product from consumers. As you consider the product development process, here are some key questions to consider in your My Food Business Action Plan. The key questions you will answer from this video depend on where you are in the product development process. What are your next steps in the product development process? If you are in ideation, how will you decide what to make and sell? If you are in recipe development, how will you keep detailed records of ingredients, weights and volumes, times, temperatures, equipment, and more? If you are in the testing step, how will you determine the extent to which quality characteristics change in your product over time? And if you're getting ready to scale up, what are your time and space requirements for making larger quantities? Thank you for watching this video. I hope I've given you a lot of things to think about with the food product development process and encourage you to read more in this module.